serve as Vice President of the Board. I call this meeting to order and let the minutes show it is 11 after 2 p.m. on Monday, July 9th. First order of business, introduce the committee members. You have met me. Hopefully our second member will arrive. I wish to have the EO introduce herself and the board staff present.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Elaine Yamaguchi, the Executive Officer of the Board. And over to my left, we have two of our NECs, Margarita Valdez, Jessica Gomez, one of my fine analysts, Geraldine Maracino.
We also have legal with us. Will you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kenneth L. Swenson, Senior Staff Counsel, Attorney 3, Counsel for the Board.
Thank you. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And the flag is here. And Ken, will you lead us, please?
Pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If staff will approach and give us an update, if any, on the education fee structure and the legislation.
Actually, Madam Chair, that's me. Again, Elaine Yamaguchi, Executive Officer. Actually, I wanted to, mostly provide an update and any answers to questions from the committee members, but from the audience members as well. I think the committee knows that at this point in time, we have language about our applicant licensee fees in legislation SB 1480, which is moving quite rapidly through the process. It's waiting to be heard in Assembly Appropriations. In other words, it's pretty close to done at this point. As I said, it only contains our applicant and licensee fees at this point, and as the board will recall, we were authorized and are seeking language also to create a fee structure for our educational institutions. The Senate has asked us to provide a lot of outreach, if you will, and community stakeholder relation work to really, I think, one, reach out and provide details about the details of the plan for one, but the history, how this situation arose, and as well as BVNPT's overall fiscal structure as well. So we've been having a lot of meetings. We've met several times with the Community College Office of the Chancellor and individual organizations. We also held a series of 5 conference calls with stakeholders, other college and school administrators. Generally speaking, even though we do not have the legislation in place, what we find, of course, is that it is a significant amount for the budgets to bear. We've heard from a number of sources that it does create a hardship, or would create rather, if it were in legislation right now. At this point in time, as I said, I'm not 100% certain that legislation will go through with the school fee instructions structure in place this year. If it does not, of course, we will try again next year. But as I said, we've had a number of I think, very, very positive conversations with a lot of stakeholders. And while everyone acknowledges that, truthfully, a fee is not a bad policy, it's not unmerited, and certainly it accounts for, it actually is not even the entirety of the work that the NECs and the Education Division provide. But nevertheless, because this is the first time we've proposed a fee, there is a good deal of concern, uncertainty about, one, the amount, and two, the timing. So we're hoping to continue to work. As I say, if we do not put the language in this year, and time is running out for that, we have about less than a month, I think, at this point. we will probably be continue to work via conference call, focus group, other outreach and meetings and consultation to look at our proposal, bring back some ideas to the board for their discussion and determination.
Thank you. This is a bit unusual because I do not have enough committee members here to take any action. But we want to call for public comment. And if you do wish to comment, please approach, sit at one of the mics and introduce yourself. And it would be only about this particular agenda item at this time.
Madam Chair, you're referring to the update and discussion of education fee structure legislation?
That is correct. Seeing none, we will move to the next agenda item. Discussion and possible action to make recommendations to the board regarding program placement on provisional approval. And we ask the Institute of Technology at Clovis, are you present? Please approach. Also, I'd like to hear from NECs regarding this institution.
IoT Clovis requested approval to start a class August 27, 2018, ending in September. In review of all the data that was presented, we recommend the approval to start that class, but we're also recommending that they be placed on provisional status for a period of 2 years. The school has demonstrated that they have sufficient faculty, that they have sufficient clinical sites. The issue is how many students graduate and the passing, state board passing. Clovis was approved revisions for their curriculum, and the class that graduated now in April is the first class that would be under that mandate. In addition, there will be another class that will be graduating in August 11th. So they will have no class for the additional actions that they want to put in place to assist their graduate students. Ms. Richards is the director for both Modesto and Clovis. They were put on provisional status in February. They did put in all those additional actions, and the last group that graduated demonstrated that their state board passings have improved. She is asking for the opportunity to have this class to also implement the additional actions that they implemented in Modesto. And so they would need this class in order to have sufficient students and data to evaluate.
Want to make sure we're understanding you correctly. Because of the experience in Modesto, that is being looked at as a means of validating your recommendation. Did I hear that correctly?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Just a question to Clovis, and good afternoon, welcome. Glad to see you. Have any of the students who completed in April of 18 moved forward, and are they at all prepared to take the exam?
Completed in April. 14 of them have already taken the board as of June 30th. 11 of them have passed, 1 failed, and 2 have not gotten their results yet because they took it like June 30th. And so we're waiting on them. We're keeping very close track of that. Obviously, if those 2 pass, our pass rates for the quarter, and I know that's not an annual figure, but would be 93% for the quarter. And even if both failed, the pass rate for the quarter would be 79%. But I think that demonstrates that the things that we have put into place have obviously helped, but we didn't stop there. We recently became a full partner with ATI, which we implemented on the Modesto campus in March. And we would like to implement the full package on the Clovis campus in August.
And when you say full partner with ATI, what does that mean?
It means that we have their virtual ATI, which is a coaching app that they can use for 12 weeks to study up on the board. It gives them their personal coach, so they go in, they take quizzes, and he says study this area and that area. It also starts at the very beginning with a number of videos, things that you can supplement into the curriculum, which we've rewritten all of our syllabi so that all of that is built right in. It also includes progressive testing, so at the end of their fundamentals class, they'll have a fundamentals exam. If they don't pass that, they will have a period of remediation and they come back and retest. So that is, there's a fundamentals, a med-surg, material, psych, and then a comprehensive one at the end. We do not use that as high-stakes testing. All of our students graduates.
And in terms of the ATI partnership, how does that affect instructors, if at all?
Well, there was a good bit of training. Oh, I'm short.
You might lean just a little forward so you speak right into the mic.
All right. Vertically challenged. Okay. So all of our
Good.
instructors underwent a very lengthy process of training for ATI. Each of the instructors also decided to become ATI champions, which means we further went through and did a full series of how to proctor exams, how to implement it into our curriculum. They assisted us with, they took all of our syllabi and assisted us with what parts of their products belonged in which semester. So all of that is working very well. Of course, I only have the Modesto campus. And actually, it's gone quite smoothly. A few little minor ruffles with instructors, like how do I fit this in, but it's going quite well.
Thank you. Usually I ask if there's any other questions from the committee.
Well,
And,
one more
yes,
thing, Madam Chairman, if I may.
please.
We also implemented, when I first came to Clovis, our PSB entrance exam score was 40%, which meant our students were in the 40th percentile nationwide. It's really hard, despite a wonderful curriculum and wonderful instructors, to raise people from the 40th percentile to a place where they could actually pass the NCLEX. Which is why we went through and did the total curriculum revision. On top of that, we also strengthened a number of our policies, like the attendance policy. We made it very strong because students who are actually in class do better. Our entrance exam, we recently switched to the HESI A2. After much research with a number of other successful LVM programs in this state and others, we matched their minimum score at 70 percentile, so you can tell that's a pretty good jump from the 40 that we had originally. We also implemented a critical thinking piece and require a minimum score of 750 on that.
In the critical thinking piece, is that a productive package or is it something you designed?
It's a separate test that we purchase in addition to the HESI A2, so they take it on entrance.
Thank you. Any further questions? And if I understand correctly, your recommendation is to approve the class
Correct.
as well as the 2 years of probation. All right. At this point, we are able to take an action to make recommendation, but this will go before the board at the August meeting, and you will have those dates and that information.
Anaheim.
We look forward to that. Usually, if there is a motion, which there would have been, we do call for public comment. So before you leave, I want to open the floor for public comment. And it is only on this agenda item. Seeing, hearing none, thank you very much. We'll see you in about just barely a month. Thank you. Next agenda item, which is critical to the functioning of not just this committee, but all of the committees and to the board, is a discussion of Education Division strategic planning. And one of the things the board president and vice president has asked each committee to do is to work with staff and committee members to set some benchmarks, measurable benchmarks, to go along with the goals that were presented in the original strategic plan dated 2 years ago, 2016. One of the items that appeared there was to cut the backlog of schools. In other words, to speed up the processing. Now, when we say that there are so many steps in the processing, I've asked the EO to talk to us a little bit about that. I want to wait just a second. Are you ready? Okay.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. There are, as you were pointing out, a number of issues involved in which would impact our workload and our flow to move through working with our schools to approve them. As I think folks know, there is a waiting list that has not even had a lot of paper examined by our NECs, and there of course is a sizable number of schools themselves that all are assigned out to our NECs. What I would point out, the committee well knows, but the audience may or may not, is, we do of course have 4 NECs doing the work of 6 right now. This creates something of a problem. We do want to fill those vacancies. They are posted. In fact, they'll be reposted. We hope to work with the department and the budget office to look into possibly creating a new position that would permit us to hire an NEC on a remote basis. We found that that's been particularly helpful in recruitment, and but we do definitely need the presence in Sacramento itself, of course, so we will not stop recruiting for those positions as well. Now, the work itself, as I said, it's divided up among too few hands, but the work itself, of course, continues to be excellent, but with a better staffing ratio, there's a lot more ongoing work that can be done. There's a lot more proactive work that can be done, I think, in terms of outreach, in terms of working with the programs to be up on the new end of curriculum development in terms of facility development, new technology. This is not to also forget the fact that we do have a legal obligation to mount a continuing education program. We've still been working on that. Now, as I said, there's a variety of hard and fast issues that we need to address. In terms of setting a benchmark, or targets rather, as we delve into the new strategic plan as well as actualizing the existing strategic plan, which carries us through 2019, I think there's a lot of things we can examine, one of which being the pace, I think, of processing schools, whether or not, and this of course would be absolutely a significant and I think weighty board discussion, examining the steps that the NECs go through, the papers, the applications, the forms, and the significant amount of analysis that goes in. I think there's a lot of ideas that can be shared, and I think there are possibilities. There are new, I think, ideas of staffing configurations, for example, that we could possibly work toward. Some that have been suggested is not having the NECs do all of the steps, maybe engaging, more analysts, or for example, one concept that we think is very interesting that I know the NECs and I have discussed at length is, what if we were able to engage working LVNs and or PTs to look into facility examination, curriculum review, facility, faculty. There's a lot of opportunities, and I think the bottom line is that we're caught in the fact that basically NECs are difficult to find and retain, and the work is not decreasing by any means. And if BVNPT and California are to at least meet the minimum demand for vocational nursing and psychiatric techs, we have a lot of work to do. But if BVNPT is to look toward the increasing demand, the incredibly largely increasing demand for qualified trained nurses, we have a great amount of work to do.
Thank you so much. And as I was listening to some of your recommendations, there are other national volunteer accrediting bodies that do have processes similar to some of what you mentioned as a possibility, with training of actual licensed individuals, PTs and vocational nursing. So in our case, being part of the examining process at some phase. We really look forward to hearing more about that, and look forward to what our staff in the office would bring to us for examination. Thank you. At this point, I will accept public comment about this agenda item. Please approach, identify yourself, and speak directly into the mic.
Paula Richards, Director of Nursing, Modesto.
A little closer.
Director of Nursing for Modesto and Clovis. When I first stepped into this role, one of the things that I think might help is more training for people who are actually directors of nursing. I know that the NECs spend a lot of time, they get through their process, they send it back to us because we didn't fill it out right, and it's not for lack of trying. And the same is true for new applications that are going in. And so more emphasis on training, maybe we could do that, would help speed up the process on their end, because we would be producing a better product for them. Thank you.
Thank you. When we take public comment, we usually don't comment.
Oh.
Yeah. We take it under advice. Thank you very much. Any additional public comment? Moving on to the next agenda item, suggestions for future agenda items. And usually that is a discussion of the committee members. I will say, as chair of the committee, we will look forward to seeing more information about the fee structure, and definitely the recommendations and suggestions about the topic of how do we better manage the number of applications coming in terms of schools. And there was a great suggestion, what about some type of training and development for directors and others? And this is not usually when we take public comment on. Before we adjourn, as with all meetings, and I see it got missed on the agenda, we open the floor for public comment in general. Please understand the committee cannot address your comment, but we do welcome that. And if there is anyone that wishes the committee to know about something, please approach. Don't be shy. And if you'll please speak directly into the microphone.
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Jody Leffler, and I'm the supervising administrator of Bakersfield Adult School. And I have with me 3 of our RNs. And I wasn't sure, we were kind of conferring, was this the place to really discuss this? So just to share with you a little bit, as you are the committee, where we have been and where we're going. We had great difficulty securing a director, and we were fortunate enough to do that. But I think Ms. Richards' comment on the management and some direction for directors, some training is crucial. We've sent our CNA application renewal several times. I'm an educator, I'm not a nurse, so I'm reliant on our staff to do this, and they're doing it to the best of their knowledge. But, you know, there's a huge time lag, like you were saying, you know, they're so short, they're working to the best that they can. But if we can submit a better product, that could help alleviate that backlog and help us to serve more students, because in the meanwhile, you know, our classes are held up while we're waiting to get the approval. So these things are really important. And for me, if I could have some training, I would love that, because I oversee a school over 10,000 students. This is one program area, the healthcare area, and I'm not a nurse. So, you know, any type of training that you could offer would be fantastic, especially for the directors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And absolutely, it was the appropriate time. Additional public comment? Seeing none, we are at the end of today's agenda, and I would generally call for a motion for adjournment. As a committee with 1 member present, we really can't take formal action, but we have completed all of our business, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for everyone for being here.